Hello, everyone. It's the Anime Club. Timer.
Yeah.
Not only did I start the recording early to capture random shit,
Yes.
but then I got Realm trying to do our opening,
And
my crisp can crackle, and a phone alarm.
Ah, wonderful.
I feel like something in the universe is telling me that I should not have started this.
Let's start. Why, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Anime Club. My name's Nick Knack. With me is the great Lord Vorn,
He's disappeared.
Realm Shifter,
Hello, everybody.
and Seki.
Hello.
No, it's okay. Vorn is still here, everybody. Don't worry.
Yeah, no worries.
He's just,
He just fell off a cliff and died.
Yeah. It's okay, he'll resurrect. He usually does.
True.
Anywhere between 1 to 5 years.
I finished killing my dragon.
He resurrected.
Yay!
He's resurrected!
Oh, yeah, thank you for clinging the can bag in the audio. That door didn't need to be closed.
I didn't know.
It never needs to be closed unless you don't want cats, and the cats are kind of not around right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
On-
No.
On that note, hello, everyone's here finally.
Yes, we are.
So this week we watched Why Raeliana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion, which is, it's a anime, came out in 2023, I believe summer season or spring season? Summer, I think. Looking at those dates, April to June is summer.
Yeah.
It is based on a Korean webtoon.
Oh, it's a webtoon adaptation. That's unique.
Yeah, so it's adapted from a webtoon, which is adapted from a web novel. So it's based on a Korean web novel, which was also made into a webtoon, and then we got the anime.
Looking now at the actual cover art of the first volume on the Wikipedia page, yeah, now I can see it a lot more.
So you're seeing the webtoon cover art. There is also web novel cover art. You should look that up too, because the web novel cover art's actually a lot more detailed.
Okay.
As it usually is, because they're only doing illustrations for like a few pages.
Yeah.
So the illustrations are usually a lot more. All right, so it was written by the original novel was written by the author Whale, and the art was provided by Milcha.
Milcha.
Yeah. So I will say I did not and still really kind of don't recognize the animation company that did the anime adaptation. It's called Typhoon Graphics. It was founded in 2014. It actually doesn't have a whole ton of stuff attributed to it. It's mostly short works. Sengoku Nightblood, Raeliana, My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S-Rank Adventurer.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, Dahlia in Bloom, Crafting a Fresh Start with Magical Tools. Haigakura, and then upcoming they have Anyway I'm Falling in Love with You, and they did the ONA, Oh Suddenly Egyptian God, which I actually have seen, I just didn't attribute to this studio.
I have seen nothing from the studio before. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a really small they have a total of 38 employees collectively in the whole company.
Dang.
So it's a very small studio, and they've done fairly consistent work through 2017 and then 2023 and 2024. So it looks like they might let's see.
Oh, suddenly an Egyptian god though. That's a good one.
It's cute.
Yes.
I've seen the art for it before. I think what it looks like to me is it looks like a former member of the Anime International Company just took a couple of members from the post-production department and founded a studio and then hired a few more people. I think based on when they were created, they probably do work on other animes, but are like not attributed to it because most of their works have come out in 2017 or 2023, and there's basically no in between. But they have been doing like consistent work since the start of 2023 on their own shows.
You know, I can kind of see why the studio doesn't have a whole lot. So its first three, One Room, Roommate, and Sengoku Nightblood, were all based on video games of various different types, but they were primarily focused on dating sims /
Actually, One Room and Roommate are original works. Neither of them are based on games. Sengoku Nightblood is based on a Japanese otome game. But One Room and Roommate are original short anime TV series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which are their first two like solo series. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting because
Wait.
we don't really know about this studio. It's not one that we've seen before, obviously, so this is first time seeing this studio's work. Sup, Vaughn?
Is it a Japanese company or is it a Korean one?
It is a Japanese company.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Japanese company. So yeah.
Raeliana is the Korean thing in here since it's originally a Korean webtoon.
But a lot of webtoons and web novels are being like Korean ones and Chinese. Well, the Chinese ones are typically adapted into Chinese anime, but a lot of the Korean ones have been adapted by Japanese companies like Solo Leveling, Tower of God, etc. I think Tower of God. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. Because South Korea doesn't do a whole ton of animating their own series. They actually make live action versions of any series that they typically adapt. For example, several of the large webtoons and web novels in Korea are getting live action adaptations. Like we're supposed to be getting a Solo Leveling live action
Interesting.
in South Korea, but then Japan does the animations for them.
Yeah, because usually the actual live action scene is a lot bigger over in South Korea.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind, like, where Japan has manga in black and white, Korea has kind of jumped on the manhwa, like, full color scrolling layout, which does offer, it kind of feels like there's very little bit of a jump from a webtoon to an anime, and I guess they probably just don't think it's necessary to make that jump, you know?
Yeah.
And if Japan will do it for them, why should they?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, I just thought it was interesting because we've never seen this studio's work before, and we don't actually currently have any of their other animes in the hat. So, like, there's no other anime we would have seen them from because we haven't put My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S-Rank Adventurer, even though I have read that one.
I thought you put it in.
It's not in the hat. I've read it, though.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyways, I just thought that was interesting. So it's a short 12-episode series. Although the ending obviously hints at wanting more seasons.
Oh yeah, this definitely was not
definitely.
a complete series.
Yeah.
Do we have a list of what exactly the series covers out of the original run of the web novel? Because the web novel itself is finished from the looks of it. Unless that's just the manga itself.
The web novel is, or the webtoon is finished, and so is the web novel.
Okay.
There's 9 volumes out as of right now, I think, in the English market.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is finished.
Okay.
I would normally be able to tell you what this covered, but actually, so I read Raeliana back when it was first being adapted, right, in like well, not when it was first being adapted, but close to, because I read it back in like 2020.
Yeah.
And I actually caught up at the time and then never finished it.
I see.
And for the life of, I also never purchased the books when I noticed them coming out in paper, which is interesting because Nick Knack will know that I've been fairly prolific about purchasing physical copies of manhwa, either to force you to read or to enjoy myself, right? Especially this kind of stuff, you know? And I did find it, I was thinking about it the other day, and it is a little odd that I had not purchased this, given that it's a completed series, it's been fully adapted, like it is all coming out in English. I think I might know why now. But that's actually going to get into my thoughts about the series as a whole.
I see.
So let's talk really quickly about since it's a new studio, let's talk about the quality of the animation, right? How did we feel about that?
I thought it was pretty good. Like, nothing to blow me out of the water, but it felt serviceable for what it was trying to do, and it felt pretty decently quality in my opinion.
Yeah, there was no major deviation from like the style of the webtoon that I was used to, so it wasn't jarring to see like sort of a different style or anything. I didn't think the animation was bad. I don't think it... Yeah, I think I agree. It wasn't stunning, but it was solid. It was, like, decent quality for what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this was not an anime predicted to be, like, some sort of, like, best of season or anything.
And it wasn't going to offer us, like, super insane, like, fight scenes or anything.
Yeah, this
like
is not an
that.
action series, so it's hard to have, like, standout Sakuga moments, and... Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just for our audience, if you haven't seen it already, this is a romantasy isekai.
It's basically a melodrama.
Well, and in specific, for those of you who have sat through some of my transmigration versus isekai, in this case, this is a transmigration. So the character has not been reborn as themselves into another world or dropped into another world. They have been reborn into the body of someone who already exists in this world, and who has died or like is no longer around for some reason. Right?
Saga of Tanya the Evil is the closest comparison I think that we've had on the channel as far as it's concerned.
Yeah, probably in terms of anime. Yeah. So yeah, this is a transmigration. Some websites like Wikipedia don't necessarily make the distinction, and I understand why they don't, because isekai is a pretty large and expansive genre. Like, I get that like this can just be rolled into isekai in technicality by the fact that it is similar, but in this case I do think it's important to make like a slight distinction, because she is not coming in with agency to do whatever she wants in this world. She is coming into the body of someone that she knows is going to die and has to somehow subvert that. Right? That is the slightest of differences between transmigration and isekai, and I will cling on to that with my nails.
Yeah.
No matter how Knick Knack looks at me from the corner of the room.
It's not a judgmental look. It's like an okay. Okay.
Because we've had this debate before, is that like, yeah, it's isekai, but it's transmigration. I'm sure Vorn understands.
Yeah. I will comment, though, about one other thing about the animation that I did find interesting, at least in comparison, is mostly how they did the background art and the background characters. Because most of the time, when like there were background characters that weren't relevant, they just had like the blacked out line through their faces, or sometimes even just a whole blacked out silhouette, which is something you don't typically see, but I think it's interesting because it actually adds a little bit of stylization, where otherwise you might just kind of get like stock like background characters and you hardly even notice them.
Yeah, it is interesting, because from what I remember, they don't do exactly that in the webtoon. But then again, in the webtoon, you're looking at still images, and so if there's something in the background, you have a background person to kind of draw in whatever they need to draw in. So I understand why they switched it up, to sort of indicate the difference.
And if they don't have like any relevance of chatting with any of the characters, they will just have their face completely. Oh, okay, I just took my glasses off. They will just completely black out the face in its entirety. Yeah.
So overall, do you agree, Vorn? Animation?
Yeah, pretty much. I would say above standard, pretty much. Like, just slightly above standard, especially for the background. I feel like there was just a little bit more effort put into it, especially with, like, some of the background characters. You could actually see their hair was done a little bit more better than, like, some other shows, at least for background characters.
Which I personally think is important, so I'm glad they kept that, because that's one of the things about, like, these, like, romantasy web novels, is that very often, like, that they do go into a fair bit of detail in the background characters, because the image, at least for like a webtoon, the image still has to look good as a still that someone is like pausing on and staring at.
You're right.
So often the background characters there will still have like elaborate hairstyles, elaborate dresses and such. So it is nice that they kept some element of being able to distinguish those characteristics.
Right. Sorry, I was also just going to say, I do enjoy, actually, the color palette that this show uses in particular. I feel like it has a very...
Jewel tone?
Yes, very jewel, gem tone kind of color palette going for it that kind of makes it really pop, like the animation pop out and kind of stand out as far as, like, actual... like, looking at it. Like, obviously, like, it's mostly serviceable, but, like, also, I would say that character hair animation is pretty well done as well. Like, especially, like, for Raeliana's hair, since she's the main lead, obviously.
It's so funny, because I've got, like, a kind of an addendum to that. There is one thing I didn't like about this adaptation's animation, right? And I'm assuming that this was done because of the mechanics of, like, animating this kind of thing. But the dresses are quite lackluster.
Interesting.
On our main characters, in my opinion. And maybe that's because I'm used to the webtoon, which can be far more detailed, but there were several moments, especially not necessarily with Raeliana always, but like with a couple of the other like women who were like shown prominently on screen, like our red-haired antagonist.
Yes. I can't remember her name either, even though I literally binged the show last night.
Vivian?
Yes, Vivian.
Yeah, Vivian. And then one of her, like the blue-haired friend, is that Vivian's dress in the scene where she's making friends with the other woman, the blue-haired woman, and they're having that confrontation in the hallway. It's oddly lopsided, and it's just kind of like color block without much dimension or decoration properly, it doesn't look very good. And that was maybe the only thing that was kind of stood out to me, is that it felt like they really, really downscaled the detail on some of the dresses. And to some extent I can be like, okay, like the purposes of animation, you can't have a ton of like little decorative bits and stuff like that. But there were a few cases where I felt it was downscaled too much. And just kind of looked sloppy.
Okay.
Like Vivian just looked bad through that entire scene. Like her dress does not look good. It doesn't look good on her. And that's one of the things about the villains in these. These are like high-class noble ladies. Very often they are dressing nice to make themselves look nice. So they shouldn't look bad. Like their dresses shouldn't like clash or be like weirdly shaped or anything. If anything, our main character is the one who wears non-normal dresses to stand out, like the white dress.
Right.
And such. Anyways, just it is the tiniest complaint, because I don't feel like it's an actual complaint.
It is the nitpick of nitpick.
Yeah, because like in Hamefura, the dresses are also somewhat simplistic.
This could just come down to TV anime budget.
That is 100% what I think it is. So I don't think it's an actual problem. It's just me being more used to like the elaborate dresses in the webtoon. And I realize that they can't one-to-one that, but it did feel a little shitty that Vivian looked so bad.
Yeah.
Because she is supposed to be kind of
She's
beautiful.
like how the hair the French dude essentially who comes in and does or makeup.
She looks like the before of a before and after that he would participate in.
Yes, exactly. But but he also describes her specifically as a vixen, so there's that. So yeah.
So anyways, that's the smallest, tiniest of nitpicks that I don't think really matters and should not affect your overall viewing pleasure. Opening ending?
The opening was alright.
Yeah.
They're both alright. Nothing.
There were quite a few post credits in some of the episodes.
The last couple episodes had post credits on a bunch of them. Yeah. It was more so at the end of the series than at the very beginning. But yeah. Because I did after hearing the opening and ending once or twice, I did start clicking the skip credits, and then it would still have a chunk of episode left. The last episode had like 2 minutes post credits.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, it wasn't like all that important as far as like.
No, it was 100% trying to tease and hope for enough popularity
it was
for
like
a second season.
It was basically like praying, like, please let us get greenlit for another second season.
Yeah.
That's basically what that ending
Which I
sequence
haven't
was.
heard anything about Raeliana getting a second season.
But also, when was the anime?
2023, middle of the year.
So it's been about a year. So
Yeah, it's only been a year.
Yeah, it could still happen.
Hang on.
Huh?
It's only been a year, or it's already been a year and a half. There's two ways to look at that timing.
There's two ways to look at it.
Because we've had nothing announced, and I'm going to be honest, as someone who is pretty online in the manhwa space, there isn't, at least in the spaces online that I'm in, there isn't really a push for this to get any more seasons.
Yeah.
This did not really hit big.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was the fact that they actually dropped the ball a little bit on advertising this when it came out, because I remember they did not do a lot of advertising, and they did not advertise to the webtoon audience very well. Then they should have, but they didn't.
Yeah, because I didn't even know the show existed.
Yeah. So
I think I saw like a tiny bit of this, like on like an Aniplex Online or something like that.
yeah, so it's like, oh, it's only been a year, but also
It's already been a
year
year
and a half.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything about
Its chances
any
aren't
talks.
dead, but also it's not like
Also,
it's not like hearing that Frerin hadn't been renewed for season 2, where it's like, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
Also, in fairness as well, the webtoon and like the actual like official licensed volumes are already completed. So if anyone did enjoy the anime and just wants to see the rest of the story, they can just go read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyways, yeah, that's kind of the breakdown of sort of the animation and stuff, at least in our opinion. Moving on to the story, I'd like to start us off with a little bit of an interesting opinion for me, because I told you before, I read this, right? And at some point I stopped reading it, and for the life of me, I saw when this anime came out, and I was like, I wonder why I never finished that series. And I was like, I should buy the volumes. And then I just never did. And now I'm maybe thinking that was my subconscious chiming in, because I didn't like this very much. Like, I don't think it's bad, but I actually didn't enjoy this anime very much. Like, it was okay, but there were a lot of parts of it I found annoying, and I kind of didn't like that there was, like... There were certain aspects of it I didn't like, and I can't... It's been a long time since I read the webtoon, and I can't remember if the webtoon was close enough to this that that's why I dropped it, or different enough and I just didn't finish it for some reason. Because Knickknack's aware. I have a habit of kind of like binging through series, and then when it's not done, I'll just like put it to the side. Sometimes I won't remember for a while, and then I'll go back and finish it. And I feel like I've had opportunities to do that, but it's never been a priority. And maybe that's something in the back of my brain telling me you were not the biggest fan of this, like once you got past a certain point. But I could also just be not remembering because it's been 4 years since I was reading it. But I do think it's interesting because I didn't enjoy watching it very much. And maybe that's just because I thought that our main pair was too cringe at times. But then Romantasy is kind of cringe and over. I don't know.
It's a saturated market in and of itself.
Yeah, but this is an early series, right? This is like the webtoon's coming out in 2017. The webtoon doesn't come out until at least a year or two after the web novel came out. So like this is arguably one of the older books in the genre, and at least for me, it shouldn't be suffering from the I've already seen like 100 of these. Because I read this way back when. Why did I never finish it way back when is my bigger thought in my head. And I think this anime is maybe gonna prompt me to go finish the actual series. Because now I want to know, is it just that I didn't love how cringy some of the parts of the adaptation were? Or is this actually going slightly differently than the webtoon?
Like, did they add extra scenes to?
The
like,
problem would not be adding. It actually feels like they were moving very fast in this anime. The webtoon, it took much longer in the webtoon to start getting hints of like the bigger plot.
Oh wow!
Like it took much longer. I remember that distinctly because I must have been at least like 70 or 80 episodes in before we started getting like into the meat of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the webtoon also started darker.
Interesting.
And then lightened up a little bit. So I don't know. I would like to hear your guys' thoughts because I think I'm being biased by my memories of the webtoon. And I'm man enough to admit that. Yeah. So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts because, to be honest, this is the kind of series that I would have expected Vorn to kind of enjoy because he likes this sort of thing, but not necessarily anyone else. But then I also distinctly remember thinking that Knickknack would enjoy it because of like the sort of murder mystery sort of thing going on. Anyways, take it away, boys.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So I did end up enjoying this series. Mostly it was just kind of fun to see a little bit of a more melodramatic show after, because I don't usually watch much melodrama as far as like actual like TV is concerned, because when you look at actual melodrama, well, what do? You get reality TV shows.
At least in the U.S.
At least in the U.S.
Because you don't watch a whole lot of Asian drama, do you?
No.
Okay.
So this is usually also within like within the U.S. This is within the rich people segment, and I don't give a shit. So I don't care to like sit down and watch these U.S. melodramas. But I will absolutely watch a romantasy that you call this as well. That is also has this rich high life melodrama, because it's a lot more interesting because the problem with U.S. reality TV in this regard is the fact that it just focuses on like the day-to-day and everything in these rich people's lives, which I don't give a shit. But with stories, what they can do, they can at least set up a theme and an overall message for the show, even if it's mostly just a character-driven show. So there's at least some substance in the potential show with themselves. Whereas with the U.S. melodrama, you're just looking at people fucking arguing.
It's often just rich people.
It's
screaming at
rich
one another.
people trying to make themselves look superior to other rich people is ultimately what that comes down to.
Okay. So you like this?
So I like this, but the problem is that the U.S. market is predominantly dominated by a different subset of this, and not a whole lot of what I prefer. So it does fill a niche for me in this regard. So I ended up actually enjoying it quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quickly before we get to Vorn or Knick-Knack, just in case our audience hasn't seen it, the general premise of this is that our main character, Raeliana, is obviously, it's like a modern day girl from South Korea, who essentially maybe gets murdered? Murdered.
Yeah,
right?
by her
Like,
supposed other life boyfriend or something like that.
No, it was just
No,
she doesn't know who. Someone just shoved her off a building.
Yeah, someone.
No,
literally...
but she said at some point within the story, at least in the English dub, because I watched the English dub for this one, she did say that it was something about her previous boyfriend at some point.
No, but when she's talking about her death, she says that all she remembers is that she was talking to someone, but she doesn't remember who they were.
Yeah.
And she doesn't remember what they were talking about.
Okay, so then what she might have said is that she could have said it was possibly, as a possibility.
No, what I think you're doing is I think you're misremembering, like, because
she doesn't have a
first
boyfriend.
death flag was was her fiance was trying
No,
to kill her.
but
Really
she doesn't have a boyfriend in her life in South Korea. That's why her life is shit. She's like standing on the top of the building hoping that she gets into a college. And she's like, "Oh fuck, I'm not getting into college."
Well, she did, but then she gets killed.
Yeah. Anyway, so then she gets reborn into the body of this girl Raeliana from a book that she has read, and she knows the premise is that Raeliana dies, and that's what kickstarts the main story with the original protagonist Beatrice and Noah Winnite.
Noah Winnite.
Yeah, no. Winnite.
Noah Winnite.
Yeah. Who is the kind of the main guy in this romance novel that she had read.
Hold on.
And so she goes through, and her basic thing is that she does not want to die. And she knows that it's her fiancé who's trying to kill her.
Hold on one second.
And so she's trying to avoid that.
Let me give you Noah's full name. Noah Volster Winnite. That's his full name.
Yeah.
He's got just the absolute most posh dick name you could ever think of.
Oh boy, do I have a list of names for you from other romanticises in this same genre, because Noah Winnite is by far not the worst. I started reading one the other day where one of the it's themed in Egypt, but it's romantasy, right? Mm-hmm. One of the characters is literally named Akhenaten.
Oh my.
Anyways, but yeah, so the basic premise, she gets reborn and she's trying to prevent her death, right? Very similar to Hamefura.
This one's trying to take it a lot more seriously than Hamefura is.
Yes, because there is some sort of like actual plot going on, and that's why she ended up dead. Mm-hmm. So anyways, Vorn, your turn. Or Knick-Knack, whoever wants to go first. I don't care.
I'll go. For me, you say this is fast. I felt it was slow.
I'm with Vorn on this one as well. I honestly thought the pacing of this show was a lot slower.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I actually think I can rectify this, but Vorn, keep going.
Yeah.
So, especially during like the first 4 episodes right there, I feel like you might be able to cut that to 2 or 3. Especially with like how first episode was pretty much her dying, and then like the second through like 4 was pretty much just her talking about like the fiance, and then like we going about like how she escapes it, and then the ball with the kidnapping, and I feel like you can compress that down to 2 episodes rather than 3 right there. But then like it definitely did draw me in, and I did get interested in it, but the ending was just so lame is the best word I can say about it. Yeah.
It left too much on the table.
Yeah, pretty much. So like, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it.
I guess I'm going now. I actually like this one. I think the reason I liked it probably comes down to, well, I've read a lot of isekai transmigration stories.
You're now a veteran.
Well, that, and the only one we've really watched as an anime has been Hamefura.
Yes.
So this on the anime side, at least to me, has a little bit of novelty to it. It's like I'm seeing the first time I'm really seeing any of these things animated.
Because it's the first one that's been animated that I've been able to show you.
But if I step back, and that's probably why I enjoyed it, is like I binged it in like 2 days and it worked perfectly, like no issue at all. But if I step back for a second and like if I try to compare it to the other like webtoons we've read and the other transmigration, I'm like, wait a minute, it doesn't have anything I usually like in it. It didn't have, like, the political intrigue was not that well developed.
Because the political intrigue is sort of the background of the plot.
The actual characters are pretty formulaic, and this would have been one of the ones where I'm like, it's the same story we just read.
A stepmother's march, and this is not.
Yeah. And then if I step back again, and this is where I think it's too fast, it's too slow. I actually think it's kind of both. Because I think the first half of it, I like the first half more than the second half, but the first half of it abruptly feels like it's setting a pace, and then suddenly we're resolving pretty much the issue that kicks off the series only about halfway through. And the rest of it is all just slow setup with no payoff.
Yeah, I think maybe this is definitely coming from, but Vorn, do you read a ton of these romantasy webtoons?
Not the webtoons,
okay, so
not
you
that
don't.
much anymore.
Right. So, like, to put this into perspective, right, keep in mind that, like, one, like a volume, right? Like, let's say a volume like this, right? So this is a web novel, or webtoon, right? Villainess. A volume like this contains about anywhere from 11 to 15 webtoon episodes, right? Because that's what they're called, episodes. So there's 11 to 15 in here, right? Now, Nick Nack and I have been reading a story where the way it's called Remarried Empress, and the way that it's set up is that in the first episode, you see something dramatic happening, right? The reason why she's the remarried empress, right?
Yeah.
But then it takes 70 episodes because it puts us back in time so that we can see the setup of her becoming the remarried empress. It's over 70 episodes. So it's like 6 of these books before we actually get to the event. And I think, because we discussed that when we were reading those knickknacks, you felt that was also moving, like there was so much that we were having to go through before we actually, like, it took a whole season to get to the payoff.
It's, the actual storyline takes forever to get to what it's promising, but also it's very, very dense.
Yeah. And I think in this anime, you've actually, in my opinion, you've lost a lot of the density of, like, the more minute details of the story. Like, for example, in the story of this, she has a lot more interactions with the blue-haired girl and this group of, like, high society wives. Yeah. She has, like, a lot more minute interactions with, like, the members of the house and stuff.
Right.
But to streamline the anime, they remove all of that.
Yeah. I noticed that, because I was like, we get this build-up and this payoff, but then it doesn't go anywhere because they don't have enough time.
Which means that, like, you're removing a lot of, like, kind of like the character development and, like, interactional setup between all of our main cast.
And also, that's like the bits and bobs that make a lot, like, where I find the most enjoyment out of a lot of these series.
But you're also streamlining the main events that are supposed to be punctuating all of this, like, interpersonal setup. So that's, for me, why it feels, like, fast, right? Because I'm expecting there to be more interpersonal interaction and like detailed setup. Like, you know, like she takes a shopping trip out and goes and talks to people, or she goes to a tea party hosted by one of the girls. You know, I think there was definitely some more, like, intrigue going down in the hunting competition too. Those are usually, like, huge arcs, is these hunting competitions. They're a staple, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, these royally held hunting competitions. These are an actual staple. I think we have read
staple within the genre itself.
Within the genre of transmigration itself, yes.
Personally, I think we've only read one for the channel. Like, we've only done one.
It's because we haven't gotten to some of the others. Yeah, no, because in at least half of the series I've showed you, Nick Nack, they exist. We just haven't gotten there yet. And then you've read one already. But yeah, no, these hunting competitions where, like, all the nobles gather together and the men go out and hunt, and then they present their trophies to the victor, or to whichever woman they want to favor, and then whatever woman gets the most trophies, getting some sort of ceremonial, like, title or, like, something, is a staple in this genre.
It's not even just like the Asian ones. I think they even do it in like one of the Game of Thrones series.
Yeah. So it's huge, right? That is so that it was fun to see that because it's a very funny little like trope thing, but like there a lot more goes on during that event than was shown in the anime, right? Because I remember that from the webtoon, and it's a lot more detailed.
Yeah. So what probably is like their streamlining just made it too streamlined to the point where it's like, it's too smooth. I want this even smoother.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I suppose I'd never really considered that would actually be a pretty big hang-up of getting these adapted into anime, you know? As opposed to having like a long live-action drama, right? Or something like that. Because with the live-action drama, at least ones that are produced in Korea, your episodes are going to be like an hour long. You're going to have at least 16 to 30 episodes. So it's going to be like a longer series, you know? So you're going to have time to do all of that stuff.
Right.
I suppose I hadn't really considered how much you'd need to condense and remove to adapt even a decent portion of this. Because, like, for example, if you were to adapt Remarried Empress into an anime, right? You would have to get to the point where she gets remarried in 12 episodes.
Oof.
Right? No, because that's the whole point. Is like that's the big payoff of the first season of the webtoon.
That would be a knock against the anime if they did that.
Yeah, because it's 70 episodes. It's 6 books. I mean, we literally just got there in book 8. I think
we've been working on this series like every few months for like the last year or two.
Yeah, like we got book 8, and I think the remarriage like happens in book like 6, 7, or 8. So it was like a solid like 6 books worth till we got there.
Yeah.
And condensing that into a 12-episode anime,
you almost have to just cut out the entire opening bit.
Yeah,
so that you don't create that expectation.
I hadn't really thought of that, you know? Because, like, obviously we've had this discussion about the pacing of solo leveling from, like, webtoon to anime, but solo leveling's different because there's big action scenes and fights.
So that's broken up by the fight scenes themselves.
Yeah, whereas in Romantasy, I mean,
all you have really is character
interactions and the intrigue, and if you remove that much, damn. Ooh. Maybe that's why I feel a little funky about this in retrospect, is that it's just missing so much. Like, it feels cringe to me because I'm only seeing the interaction between a few very select characters. And it is slightly more cringy to have, like, her blushing and freaking out that he was sitting next to her, like, bare-chested or something halfway through the series.
Right.
You know?
Well, I think we see this problem a lot with anything that tries to incorporate intrigue or even slice of life elements to it to try expanding out its characters. Like, I hate to be the guy that brings up Fate all the time on this channel, but Nasu's works, you've read Witch on the Holy Night, that's getting an anime movie. Try to, most of that is like smaller moments that make these emphasize character actions. And the community is all very concerned as to how that's actually going to adapt.
Oh yeah, because it's
seeing so I feel like something similar happened here, and this is probably something that just happens with this style of writing.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't. You know what? I hadn't really thought about that. That's probably why I don't feel that positive about this series right now. It's because it does genuinely feel like it was very much rushed and yet still too slow.
Yeah. What would you think if they just went like at the 12th episode mark? They ended with her pretty much just signing the contract with the Duke.
No, that would be too slow. Because she does actually manage to get the contract signed, like, relatively... Like, that is one of, like, the things that happens, like, in the first volume, right? Like, the first, like, 10, 15 episodes of the... And keep in mind, so webtoon episodes are very short, right? They're not covering, like, as much as, like, a manga chapter could, because there's in the panel spacing, there's, like, a ton of spacing held between panels and stuff like that, with a lot of like standalone, like, photographable moments. It doesn't quite translate like one-to-one to the amount of information you'd be getting per chapter.
Yeah.
The kidnapping scene and the resolution? What about that?
I almost want to say that I wouldn't mind if the series had ended at the end of the hunting competition.
Really? That late?
Well, okay, and I think I say that because I know that the first couple episodes do feel oddly drawn out, right? Like, I think that she should have gotten the contract signed by the end of episode 2 and been moved on from that, right? Like, I don't think it should have been, like, any longer. right? That little bit at the beginning is a little too drawn out, but then everything else later on is too fast. And I think the hunting competition makes a pretty good ending point for a 12 episode series.
That's fair.
You know, because it would give you a little bit of time to draw out some more of the events before it, like the kidnapping and stuff like that. Maybe give her an extra episode to like meet up with these high society ladies, properly. Yeah. Have like a tea party, get a little interpersonal interaction, but then you don't have to deal with anything after the hunting competition. And the hunting competition is sort of like the biggest, is up to that point. It's like the biggest gesture that the Duke has made to her, and it's a very performative and dramatic one, in my opinion.
I would actually say, like, where I would have liked it to end was on the was actually slightly after the hunting games, where they go to do the lighting of the sacred flame. I actually kind of would have maybe liked it to end there.
We spent too long in the fucking church. I
actually kind of like that art because it set up a lot, didn't pay off a lot, but man, did it feel like it gave me like
and now
the
she has
best
a
kind of flashbacks
to
Baccarina. That was it. Didn't feel right in the series. It didn't. But if this were like a villainess arc, I'd be like, okay, that was a pretty good villainess arc.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I say it, because like you said, the church arc did go on a little bit longer than it needed to. What? So having it be like the last episode would have been fine.
So, for reference, you guys, just so you know, the torch lighting ceremony happens in volume 3 of the actual published book.
Okay. So we probably...
And then Beatrice...
Oh yeah, and then
sort of shows up in volume 4. So we saw 4 volumes of this, and it is only, I think, a 9-volume series.
Yeah. So we got this got basically 50%.
Yeah, that's way too much.
I could actually see season 2 happening then if this actually covered 50%.
I mean, a little less than 50%, but like
because
we didn't 45.
get the high society stuff that you talked about that was in the actual webtoon.
I do think it's interesting because I have often thought to myself that this is a series that I'd kind of want to get Nick Nack to read, right? For the simple purpose is that I do remember it does make a pretty drastic turn about halfway through to being like a bit of a more hardcore detective, right? Like, because and I am correct here, in volume 5 she dives really deep into like the history of her own character and trying to figure out secrets. So we did end like right before, like she kind of goes off the deep end into, okay, something bigger is going on than even I thought, and I need to figure it out or I'm going to die.
Right.
And they hint at that at the end of episode 12.
But
I don't think they do a great job at hinting at just how drastically I remember the story changing. Because I think that might have been when I stopped reading, is a little bit after the whole tone of the series changed slightly.
Yeah.
So that might be what happened.
Possibly.
It just feels like right now she's not doing a lot with her agency in this world.
Yeah.
A lot of things are happening to her. She's not doing a lot, though.
Yeah. But it does appear that it did cover about 4 books. Not quite all 4 books, but most of 4
Some
books.
stuff was removed for the sake of time, but yeah.
Yeah.
And some stuff should have probably just been left in.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think...
I definitely am at least intrigued enough to want to read the web novel after this, especially knowing that it's completed.
Yeah, and knowing that it's not that long.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say the unfortunate thing is, I don't believe that Raeliana is hosted on any of the main sites. You would have to, I believe, go either buy it digitally or in paper or
sail the 7 seas.
Hey ho, hey ho.
Ho ho ho.
Yeah.
Dwarves.
I realized that as I was doing it. Sorry. Way hey, she rises early in the morning. So yeah, I do feel like I think it was originally published onto like one of the bigger sites, and I think it's been removed since. Yeah, it was originally on Tappy Toon and Tapas. It might still be, but I don't use Tappy Toon and Tapas because they're both a pay by chapter model.
Yeah.
And I don't pay by chapter.
Yeah.
Point blank period.
That can get expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. No, thank you.
But yeah, anyways, so that does make a bit of a difference in how much it covered. I do think it covered too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pacing suffered for how much they covered. Like you could have easily, you could have ended it at like the temple, and not gone past that maybe.
Yeah, and then maybe just had like the setup at the end where you get the reveal with Beatrice showing up in with Vivian.
Yeah,
and then have that be the ending cliffhanger right there.
that is true.
No, that probably wouldn't be that bad.
So, what I'm taking away from our discussion, which has actually been quite productive, is that this show, it is generally pretty decent to watch. It's not the best, but it's still pretty decent. We all enjoyed it somewhat well enough. I feel more positive on it now that I've talked through my feelings. Because I do think that the reason why I was feeling negative was the pacing.
No, we went into this discussion, me positive, you negative. We need to get into like a real big fight here that becomes awkward for 10 minutes.
Absolutely not. I have
dear.
no interest in that today.
Oh dear.
But I do think that means we can get into waifu wars.
Yes.
For a given value of waifu wars that we only have like so many characters.
All right.
But waifu wars.
Waifu wars.
Waifu wars. Vorn.
I got nothing really.
Nada.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing too interesting.
Realm.
Adam Taylor, Mr. Silent Knight.
Okay. Knick-knack.
Trying to decide between a joke or a joke.
Is it the Killing Joke?
No.
Okay.
I can give mine while you make
Go
your
for the
decision.
Lord's greatest joke.
I like Dame Ainsley. That's the redheaded guard lady.
Ah, okay.
I'm
Oh
fine
yeah,
with it.
she's a good character.
I also, from what I remember, she's given a lot more agency and characterization in the novels.
Oh, good actually. Okay.
Yeah, so that's for me. I like Ainsley.
Yeah.
Random girl that was in the king's bed when they just removed the covers from her.
Yeah, actual joke. Yeah, actual joke character.
I will say, having taken a quick look over the Wikipedia just to make sure I had the right name, there was a Tome game developed based on this. I think a romance video game in 2021.
Okay.
And it already came out. Apparently, it's supposed to be getting. And it's a Korean game, and it's supposed to be getting both Japanese and English translations at some point.
Is it adapting like what would have been the original story, or is it adapting this story?
I do not know.
It would be
Not
cool,
a
honestly.
fan.
It'd be cool, honestly, if
yeah.
we did get the original story, like how it was supposed to play out.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's that thing. Because I will say it is interesting. I didn't realize the web novel was so short. It's only 3 volumes, and then the side story volume. For some reason, I thought this was longer.
I figured out my waifu.
Who's your waifu?
Who was that guy that she talked to at the gravesite?
Oh, purple-eyed dude. They were the same Shamal family.
Oh, Justin?
The one who was like crying over the friend.
Yeah, Justin.
Justin
Yeah,
Shamal.
it's Justin
there we
Shamal.
go.
Okay. All right. Well, I suppose that concludes our review version of today's portion. Video is going to be incoming. Hold on. Let me get OBS set up and... All right.
I don't really have recommendations. You guys got recommendations?
Yeah, oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, we totally forgot recommendations. Actually, I do. I have a couple, right?
Of course you fucking do.
Okay, I'm not gonna do like
The exhaustive list.
Yeah, a long list of like look, if y'all want a long list of shit you should read, you can go to our transmigration roundup video. But off of that topic, I would say the Duchess's 50 tea recipes. It came out at a similar time, but I actually like that one a lot better. It is also completed and not that long. It has not gotten a paper release, which breaks my heart because I feel like it deserves it. And then I'd say maybe let's say The Villainess Turns the Hourglass and Villains Are Destined to Die. I think Villains Are Destined to Die is sort of the pinnacle of this avoiding death flags genre, in my opinion. And then I think the villainess turns the hourglass introduces sort of another interesting premise, but focuses on other things. Is in my opinion.
I think got 2 accomplishments of the Duke's
Of a Duke's daughter, yes. That is another good one. Nick Nack has read that one.
Yeah, and then like something else which I've just been reading, which is a web novel, I think, is just the painting of the villainess as a young lady.
Yep, I've read that one. Anyone else?
I personally don't have any recommendations because I have not watched enough of this type of genre.
Nick Nack is actively dying. All right, boys. We got a rock,
Let
paper,
him die.
scissors.
All right.
Oh my!
All right, everyone get your... Okay,
We
all
got it.
right. Oh, I gotta record. Hold
Hard
on,
to play without recording.
hold on.
Well, at least you remembered.
All right. Fucking buttons. All right. Are you working?
Is it working? Or is it going to be a piece of shit?
It's working now. All right.
Okay.
So, rock,
One,
paper, scissors.
Oh,
Okay,
There we
Nick Nack
go.
it is.
Nick Nack it is.
yeah.
Shit.
Tell us, Nick Nack. What are we watching next week? Tell us.
What if I give you guys a choice here?
Mm.
Fate
What?
or non-fate?
Either or.
I do not care.
Fate.
Fate Apocrypha, first half.
Yay.
Oh,
Okay.
Hey, Fate Pop.
Yay, this is the long-awaited. This is the long-awaited one for me.
This is the
Yeah.
jankiest recording setup we have ever had. As I am actively just scanning y'all. All right. Okay.
I need to get you guys an episode count, don't I?
Video
Yes.
portion done.
Yes. And also, this is on Netflix, isn't it?
It is a Netflix
Okay.
one, yes.
And just so you know, everyone who's still watching, we will be doing rock paper scissors every time that we need to decide something this season. So, Fate Apocrypha.
With fan favorite characters such as Astolfo and Mordred.
Oh, interesting.
There are
Trying to get
Interesting.
you episodes here.
there
One run.
there's it looks like so part 1 looks like it has 10 episodes.
I'm gonna take you guys a little farther than that.
Okay. We can't quite finish this one because it has 22.
Yeah, we're gonna go through 20, or we're gonna go through episode 13. Episode 13.
Okay.
1 through 13.
1 for 13.
1 through 13?
Yep.
Fate Apocrypha. All right.
Okay.
Congrats, Nick Nack. You've won the second round of rock, paper, scissors this season.
Did I win the... I wasn't the first to win last time, was I?
I don't think so.
No.
Was it? I think it was me.
Yeah, it was one of those two.
It was me.
Yeah,
It
because I had
wasn't
dead
me.
last.
What? Okay, yeah. So it was me who won first last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we will see everyone later then.
Try harder, everyone.
Try harder.